Hi, this is Dr. Pachenik and Dr. Pachenik Speaks. Today I want to address the Chinese people and President Xi. I know there's been a tariff placed on your goods. However, you have to think very carefully as to what you want to do. This is an issue that has arisen between you, the personality of you, and the personality of our President Trump. As you know, Trump can be mercurial, but he's a businessman and he wants to cut a deal. You, in turn, have come out of the princeling set, whereas the 15-year-old, you were in the Mao Revolution, and unfortunately, the Cultural Revolution destroyed you and your father. As a result, you came out with a conclusion that wasn't correct. You thought that to be strong, you had to be like Mao, and now you're assuming the position of Mao. But remember, the strongest leader of China was not Mao Zedong. It was Deng Xiaoping, and it was Deng Xiaoping who said, "Bide your time and hide your strength." In turn, you are becoming very impetuous. You do not have to expand China at the risk of poverty for your own people. There are people who cannot afford to go to the doctor, cannot afford to go to schools, cannot afford a pension, yet you have no problem giving out hundreds of billions of dollars of loans all the way to Africa and Asia and Russia and Europe when you can barely afford to contain your own economy. I want you to think very carefully as to what you're doing. Politically, you're on a precipice. Why do I say that? Because in your province of Hebei, you have to check very carefully. Why are the people taking away your posters like they did in the Cultural Revolution of Mao? They took them down. Why are the people resenting what you're doing politically and becoming the new Mao Zedong of the Communist Party? Why are you refusing to allow the Chinese youth to express their discontent with what you're doing? You have to remember, Mao belonged in his era in the 50s. Millions of Chinese died in that Cultural Revolution unnecessarily. It was Deng Xiaoping and Zhou Enlai who saved China so that you could one day be the sleeping giant that Napoleon said would awake one day. Now you have become fickle. You have lost the ability to understand what exactly you're doing economically. You have spent $100 billion 3 months ago. You spent $100 billion 2 months ago. And a month ago, you spent over $50 billion to maintain liquidity in the Chinese economy when the economy's growth has been decreasing by 1% a month. You think that in some ways you can entice us into battle. You're wrong, Mr. Xi. President Xi, I should say. I am a friend of China, and I am saying to you as a friend, not as a member of any government, that you are surrounded now with 100+ military bases that belong to the United States. Your own military will tell you that any engagement over the Spratly Islands will be useless and worthless because it's not worth the men and women and the amount of time and energy it would take to protect these islands. You have Indonesia, Vietnam, the Philippines, Malaysia, and all the countries around the South China Sea saying to you, release the Spratly Islands and do not become a conqueror, because we need the Malaysian outlet and we need the Moluccan Straits. In simple terms, President Xi, this is a time for you to make a decision. Either you can concede and decide that you want to let China grow and we have another 30 years of prosperity as we've had in the past 30 years, or you decide to become the Maoist strongman who really can't be in control of what China has. Because right now China is too big and growing too fast for any one man to assume power. Let me remind you of the words of the famous philosopher Sun Tzu, who said that wars are won before the battle is fought. Right now, I'm cautioning you that you are losing the war. Thank you and good night.